President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. In this afternoon's hearing, on Thursday and Friday, the Chamber will hold the hearings of victims' impact statements of some civil party who experienced during democratic Cambodia. And the Chamber will hear their statements. Civil parties will state the sufferings which they experienced during their times, and we will hear two civil parties this afternoon. There is 2 TCP 982 and 2 CCP 985. And the first civil party to be before the Chamber today is 2 TCP 982. Court officer is instructed to usher in the above mentioned civil party to the stands so that he or she can make statements. President, good afternoon, Madam Civil Party. What's your name? Civil Party. My name is Tak San. I am from Giriwong District, Takao Province. Question. Thank you very much. When were you born? Answer. I do not remember. I am illiterate and I cannot remember the date of my birth. Question. And how are you as of today? President, please wait, Madam Civil Party. Please wait until the microphone is activated. Witness, I am 67 years old. President, thank you very much. Where's your current address? I live in some commune, Giriwong District, Takao Province. What is your current occupation? President, please wait, Madam Civil Party. Civil Party. I am at home. I collect firewood for sale and I had a small business. President, what are your parents' names? Civil party. My parents' names are Lam Seng, said civil party. President, what is your father's name? My father's name is Ta. President, what is his surname? Answer, his surname is Lam. President, what is your mother's name? Answer, her name is Seng. President, what about her surname? Answer, my mother's father's name is Lam. President, are you married? Answer, I am a widow. President, how many children do you have? Answer, I have 4 children. President, I would like to ask a few questions to the staff of TBO. What is your name? Answer, my name is Chai Maridait. I am a staff member of TBO to support the victims of the Khmer Rouge period. President, thank you very much, Madam. The chamber wants to know your name and want the parties to know your name as well. During the testimony of this civil party, the chamber allow you to sit close by to the civil party so that you can support the civil party, and from your support we hope that the civil party will be strong and can make a statement of her suffering. Thank you, Madam Civil Party. In today's hearing, the chamber will give you the floor to make a statement of the sufferings and injury you experienced during that times, and you will be asked to make statement in relation to the harms inflicted upon you resulting in your civil application to claim collective and moral reparation for physical, material and mental injury as direct consequences of crimes. And the 2 accused are charged with the crimes which cause injury on you during the period of 17 April 1975 through 6 January 1979. You have the floor now, Madam Taksan. Please wait, Madam Civil Party. You may proceed, lead co-lawyer for Civil Party.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the honor of starting, and then I will give the floor to my colleagues during these 3 days. We have decided to put questions to the civil parties to help them come up with answers with regard to their suffering, which they endured during the Democratic Kampuchea period. So I'm going to start with Ms. Taksan, and then my colleague Lord Chonti will continue later on in the afternoon.
President, so this means that this civil party will not make a statement first, and the civil party will use the rights to be questioned by the lead co-lawyer. Is that true?
That is true, indeed. We have made the choice of putting questions, and her answers, in fact, will make up her testimony on the harm that she suffered.
Group President, so this would apply to all civil parties, or there are only some exceptions on some civil parties?
Je pense que cela...
I believe for all civil parties.
President, you may proceed now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, civil party. The first question that I'm going to ask you is, where were you born? And then we will be able to unfold your personal history between 75 and 79, and therefore help you voice the suffering that you experienced during that period. But first, in order to understand how the events tie up, I wanted to know first where you were born, in which district?
Civil party. I was born in Cambodia, Crown.
Est-ce que vous pouvez...
Can you tell us when you left Kampuchea Crown?
After 7 or 8 months, or after 1 year, I left Kampuchea Crown when there was the exchange program.
Donc pour être...
So, to be clear about this, you remained in the same place, or did you always live where you were born, or did you move? Between the time when you were born and the time when you arrived in Kampuchea Crown?
Answer. I pledged to live in the lower part, that is Crown, because I was afraid. My children and I pledged to live in the lower part, that is Crown.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Do you remember when you fled?
Answer. I do not remember because I cannot read and write. I do not remember the year. I just pledged to that place together with others.
Et où est...
And where were you before you fled to Kampuchea Crown?
Answer. I lived in Kokampel commune, Tropang Chuk.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. So you said that you fled to Kampuchea Crown with your children. Did you leave a house behind? Did you leave a plot behind? Can you tell the court what you had to leave behind when you left for Kampuchea Crown?
I had a house before I left, and I had some belongings, so I left behind my house.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. So you said that you left with your children. Can you tell the court with whom exactly you fled to Kampuchea Krom? Who were the family members that came with you when you went to Kampuchea Krom?
Answer: my mother, my father, my husband and children, we all fled to Kampuchea Krom.
Pourquoi avez-
Why did you flee?
Answer: I was afraid. For this reason, I fled to that place. I was afraid that I would be sent to the upper part. For this reason, I fled with others to that lower part.
Thank you. And you said a little earlier on that you spent about 7 or 8 months in Kampuchea Krom. Can you tell us how, in which circumstances you came back to Cambodia?
Answer: I left Kampuchea Krom with some little belonging and spent 2 nights at Phnom Penh. And after that, Khmer came to bring us and together with our belongings to Thanao Chrum.
pouvez-vous
Can you provide us with more information on the exchange program that you talked about? How did this program of this exchange program take place?
Answer: I do not know how to explain. I was asked to leave. That is why I left with others.
saviez-vous
Did you know where you were going to go when you arrived in Cambodia?
Answer: I did not know where I would go. I thought I would be happy to be back in my home village, but I was abroad to anywhere else.
pensiez-vous
Did you think back then that you were going to go back home to your home village?
Answer: I was not allowed to live in my home village. I was taken and brought to Thanao Chum.
Est-ce que vous
Can you tell us with which family members you traveled from Kampuchea Krom back to Cambodia?
Answer: there were many people. I do not know them. When they were taken to Kampuchea Le, there were hundreds of cats.
et les membres de votre
And the family members you traveled with, who were they?
Answer. My parents, my children, my husband.
Did you leave Kampuchea Krom with any belongings, such as cows, food, clothes? Can you provide us with a bit more clarification on this?
Answer. Yes. I had brought some belongings, cats, cattle, and some foods to eat.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Can you explain to the court what happened when you arrived in Cambodia?
Answer. I thought that I would be prosperous when I arrived in Cambodia, but instead I was placed in a suffering area.
Merci, madame.
Thank you, civil party. We are, in fact, going to try to speak about the suffering you endured when you arrived in Cambodia. Can you tell me where you arrived when you arrived in Cambodia?
Dans quel district?
In which district? In which commune?
Answer. Tropang Thom Kang Cheung was in Tramkot district.
Merci.
Thank you. I'm first going to ask you a question regarding the belongings you brought with you. Were you able to keep what you had brought with you from Kampuchea Krom or not?
Answer. I had some belongings. The trucks went to collect me, and they took all my belongings, and those belongings were put in a collective property.
Pouvez-vous
Can you explain to the court what happened afterwards with your family members? Were you allowed to stay together with your husband and with your children?
Answer. First, I was allowed to live with my family and my husband, and after that we were divided into different units.
Aviez-vous la possibilité de...
Were you able to see your children or not? And can you tell us a little bit what happened in that regard?
Answer. I explained to my children that please do not say anything. So you only did what you were asked to do.
À quelle fréquence?
How often could you see your children?
Answer. I did not go to visit my children. My children would come to visit me on the 10th, 20th every month.
Avez-vous...
Did you suffer from the fact back then that you could not see your children enough? Can you tell us a little bit how you experienced this?
Answer. Normally, mothers love the children. The children are away from mothers, so we miss them. So, but we could not do anything.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. You said earlier on that you arrived at Tram Kok with your 2 children. Did you have any other children when you were in Tram Kok?
Answer. When I was in Tram Kok, I was pregnant and I had a child. And my husband was taken away. I did not know where he was taken to, so I had a baby alone. I live alone with my baby.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the disappearance of your husband? How did he disappear? And is he the only member of your family who disappeared?
Answer. We actually came together with 5 or 6 cats, and when I returned, I could not see my husband. He disappeared, and I did not dare to ask where he was at that time.
Vous avez évoqué.
You spoke about 2 children. Did both of these children survive the regime?
Yes, they did.
Avez-vous perdu d'autres proches?
Did you lose other loved ones during that period?
Yes, my sibling. I also lost my sibling during the regime.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Now we're going to speak about the possible suffering you went through when you were working at Tram Kok. So, could you please tell us where you were sent to when you arrived at Tram Kok and what kind of work they made you do?
First, I was asked to carry the termite mound earth, and later on to carry fertilizer, and then to work on a canal at Kok Kruh.
Quel a été le travail le plus difficile que vous...
What was the most difficult task you had to carry out?
To carry the earth, termite mound earth up to the dam at Kok Kruh was difficult. They put more earth on the baskets that I had to carry, and then sometimes I fell down.
Aviez-vous la faculté de vous reposer quand vous étiez fatigué?
Were you able to rest when you were tired?
No, I did not dare to rest as I was forced to work. Everybody did not dare to take any rest.
Et pourquoi n'osiez-vous pas vous reposer?
And why were you not able to rest?
We were not allowed to rest as we were forced to complete the work assignment.
Vous est-il arrivé pendant cette période à Tramcock de travailler également?
Did you sometimes have to work at night at Tramcock after your evening meals?
Yes. After the meal, we were ordered to dig pits in order to plant coconut trees.
Merci. Vous avez indiqué tout à l'heure avoir été...
Thank you. You stated a while ago that you were pregnant while you were at Tramcock. Did you have to work while you were pregnant?
I had to work until the time that I delivered my baby.
Je vous remercie. Avec le recul,
Thank you. Now, looking at the situation with some detachment, what was the most difficult experience you faced during all the time you spent working at Tramcock?
The most difficult work was to carry the earth, as it was rather too heavy for me. They sometimes fill in the basket too full, and it was too heavy for me to carry it.
je vous remercie.
Thank you. Did you suffer from hunger while you were at Tramcock?
We were given gruel to eat.
Est-ce que cette bouillie était suffisante?
Was such a gruel sufficient for you to eat satisfactorily?
No, it was not enough. And also I had to leave some for my child, as well as my child did not have enough food to eat.
Pour être clair, Madame la partie civile, est-ce que vous avez eu...
To be clear, Madam Civil Party, were you hungry throughout all those years?
Yes, I was hungry and I did not dare to steal anything as I was afraid. So we had just to try to survive.
De quoi aviez-vous peur?
What were you afraid of?
I was afraid that I would be taken away and killed. So we did not dare to complain even if the food was not enough.
Est-ce que vous avez toujours eu la même ration alimentaire ou est-ce que...
Did you always have the same food rations, or such rations changed over the months and years you spent at Tramcock?
It was basically the same as they sometimes only changed the vegetable, but the soup was still watery, and we only had a bowl of watery soup for four of us in a group.
Vous avez indiqué tout à l'heure que vous gardez...
You stated a while ago that you kept a bit of soup for your children.
President, Council Coupe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honours. I've been listening for a while now to the questions of the lead co-lawyer of the civil parties. I believe there is an American expression that says, if it walks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. And what I'm listening to is the civil parties asking for testimony, asking the civil party to testify. I think I granted, before objecting, some leeway to the civil parties, but what we are having here is not civil party impact, suffering, whatever you would like to call it, but simply somebody giving testimony. And of course we had a long discussion before as to the parameters of what we're having today, but I believe we are having, or we are listening to testimony, and I don't think that is the idea of this session and tomorrow's and Friday's session.
Monsieur le Président, j'aimerais répondre.
Mr. President, I of course would like to respond. I am quite shocked by my learned friend's objection. In the last half hour, this civil party has told us that she lost her house, she was uprooted from her roots, she lost her husband, she was often hungry, she was even famished, and she was subjected to inhumane working conditions. Is all that not the suffering which the civil party is expressing? We are dealing with civil parties who are illiterate, and it is much easier to interact with them by putting questions to them. Again, what part of this civil party's testimony is not directly related to the suffering she suffered during democratic Kampuchea? I am really shocked by the objection of my learned friend, because he has to explain what is a prejudice or harm or suffering, which is not exactly what the civil party has just related to us.
President, I'd like to hand the floor to Judge Claudia France to provide an oral ruling on the objection raised by the defense counsels and also the techniques used by the lead co-lawyers in putting question to the civil party. You may proceed, Judge France.
The first is a remark on language. In the context of a civil party that talks about suffering, this kind of language is of questionable taste at best. Now to the substance. It's obviously this civil party has talked about suffering. Now it is equally obviously difficult to make a clear distinction between testimony on suffering and testimony on facts. For the next 2.5 days, we will simply go ahead with the way it was planned and with the method adopted by the co-lead lawyers. When it comes to questioning time for the other parties, we will be open to reasoned submissions. And on the basis of these next 2 or 2.5 days, the Chamber will, if necessary, review the approach to this kind of evidence. So for the time being, we are going ahead as planned and as scheduled. And defense is requested not to interrupt until they are given the floor. Not to interrupt on the basis that you don't like the process as it is at the moment, until you are given the floor.
J'en avais presque terminé avant.
I was almost done with my questions when my learned friend interrupted me. His objections may be in the interest of his client, but I am increasingly perplexed by the attitude of my learned friends regarding the civil parties. They usually exceed the time required, and I must add that this last objection was really the last straw on the camel's back. Madam, you have an opportunity now to express your suffering during the period of democratic Cambodia. After the Vietnamese arrived, where did you go?
After the arrival of the Vietnamese, I went along on the carts with the Khmer rules. At that time, I was carrying my young baby. And we went along further and further, but then we were told not to follow them.
Êtes-vous retourné finalement dans votre...
Did you ultimately return to your native village?
Only after the Vietnamese arrived, then we returned to our native villages, and there were many of us returning, and we had to make a long trip, and sometimes we had to sleep along the way. Wherever the night fall, then we stopped and rested.
Avez-vous pu retrouver la maison dans laquelle vous habitiez avant?
Did you find the house in which you had lived prior to the democratic Cambodia regime?
No, it was no longer there. It was gone.
Vous nous avez indiqué tout à l'heure avoir...
A while ago, you stated that you lost your husband during the democratic Cambodia regime. Did you get married again subsequently? And how did you feel following the loss of your husband?
It was very difficult, and I decided not to remarry, as I decided and determined to take care of my children, and because I missed my husband and I pity him, that's why I decided not to remarry another man.
Avez-vous souffert du fait de ne pas pouvoir...
Did you suffer as a result of the fact that you did not know where your close relatives had died? And did you have the opportunity subsequently to bid them farewell according to the traditional rituals?
When the time comes for the annual ceremony, I just burned an incense and the sticks and to pray to their souls, since I did not know where they actually died.
Je vous remercie, Madame la participante.
Thank you, Madam Civil Party. I am done, Mr. President.
President and the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have questions worth 10 to 15 minutes for the civil party. I'll start when she, of course, feels better and when I have your leave to start, Mr. President.
President, yes, you may do so.
Merci, Madame la participante.
Thank you, Madam Civil Party. My name is Vincent de Wilde. I will put some questions to you on behalf of the co-prosecutors, or the Office of the Co-Prosecutors. I'd like you to clarify a number of things. I was able to understand from interpretation that you were born in Kampuchea, Krom, but you also made mention of a native village in Cambodia. Could you please, therefore, repeat where you were born exactly? Were you born in Vietnam or in Cambodia?
I was born in Cambodia.
Et pourriez-vous nous dire quel était le nom du village?
And can you tell us the name of the village and the commune in which you were born?
It was in Trapang Chuk, Kok Ampel, but I cannot recall the name of the district. I only recall that it was called Trapang Chuk, Kok Ampel.
Merci. Donc vous êtes parti.
Thank you. So you went to Kampuchea, Krom, and at a point in time you returned. You state in D22/3225, your application form, that you registered your name on a list of the Vietnamese government, which and you were swapped with Vietnamese living in Cambodia as against those living in Vietnam.
Yes, I was part of the second exchange program with the Vietnamese.
Dans ce formulaire, il y a une...
On this form is a date, early 1976. Is this the period when you returned to Cambodia? Please confirm whether that date is accurate.
returned to Cambodia, but I was not taken to my native village, but I was taken further up into the upper part of Cambodia.
D'accord. Alors tout d'abord,
Very well, but first of all, before you arrived in the north, that is in Tramkak district, you said you passed through Phnom Den after you crossed the border between Vietnam and Cambodia. Can you tell us for how long you were at this place called Phnom Den? Did you spend only a few days there or several months there?
I spent 2 nights there. So we cooked rice and we stayed there for 2 nights at Phnom Den. And next day, they brought in the truck with cattle, and we were asked to get onto those trucks, and then we were transported away.
quand vous avez été emmené, est-ce que c'était
When you were taken away, was it solely people from Vietnam who were in the truck, or there were also new people, that is the 17 April people, in the truck as well?
No.
It was a mixture that there was our group, and there were many of us in the group.
Merci.
Thank you. So you stated that you arrived in Pinao Chum village, Kok Trabek commune, in Tramkak district. And you made mention of a meeting on your form, a meeting during which your personal property was confiscated. We'll talk about that subsequently. On that form, you were told that if Anka discovered that anyone was keeping personal property, that person would be considered as an enemy. That was a threat. Was that the first time you were being threatened since your return to Cambodia? Were you told that you would be considered as an enemy if you did not hand in all your property?
Yes, that was the first time. Then we were told to give them the property that we brought along. So we all had to hand them over to them for communal use.
au moment où vous avez dû remettre tout vos...
At the time when you had to hand in all your personal property, did you regret having had to return to Cambodia?
I did not regret much for the property that I handed over, because I thought that it would be for communal use and that we would be given sufficient food to eat. But on the contrary, it was not the case.
Après, vous avez été placé dans une unité.
Afterwards, you were placed in a cooperative unit. Who worked with you in that cooperative unit? Were the people from Vietnam? Were they 17 April people? Were they base people? Or were they mixed or not?
We were put to work mixed with other people.
Vous voulez dire que les gens du peuple de...
Do you mean that base people were working with you, or you were mixed up with 17 April people? Please clarify that point.
There were some of them, for example, there were 4 or 5 of them, they were the best people, but for us, we had to work harder than them because they did not work as hard as we did because they were the best people.
Et qui dirigeait votre unité de
And who led your cooperative unit? Were they base people or people like yourself?
They were best people, although I did not know them.
Vous avez aussi déclaré dans
You also stated on the information or the victim's information sheet that if you did not complete your work on the rice fields, as you had to transplant rice shoots, you wouldn't receive any food. Did it happen that you were not fed when you did not complete your work, or that was only a threat?
It was a threat. Although we were still given the food ration, but I must say the food ration was not enough.
Vous avez également dit que vous aviez
You also stated that you tested the fertilizer you made using excrements, and they said it wasn't so you had to test to make sure it wasn't too salty to destroy the rice shoots. Why did you have to taste the fertilizer made with excrement?
I was ordered to test it, so I had to force myself to do that as I was scared.
And if the rice shoots died, what would have happened to you, according to the orders that were given to you by the Khmer Rouge?
We were told if the rice seedlings die, then we would be tortured.
Civil party, there is a document in the case file, E3/4092. This is a document that comes from the Krang Tachang Security Center. I'm not going to show it to you, but I'm going to read out an excerpt. It's on the second page. In Khmer, ERN is...
President, please wait. There is... please proceed, Victor Kope.
Thank you, Mr. President. I understood the instructions of Judge Fentz. However, I feel obliged to nevertheless stand up because I think we are taking it another step further, showing the civil party a document and asking for her reaction or her testimony has again nothing to do with her suffering, but is only intended to establish evidence. Again, I feel obliged to object, and allow me very briefly to react to what you said about my expression. I would like to make it very clear that the use of this expression was intended at the civil party lawyer, and obviously not at the civil party herself.
Perhaps at this point, and the translation into French was even worse, which is another reason why using this kind of language is something one should consider.
I understand, but I cannot be held responsible for improper translation. I believe it's a standard American expression. I will never use it again, but I want to be very clear, it was obviously not directed at the civil party.
Mr. President, may I respond? The objection is not appropriate insofar that the civil party said that she did not know where her family members had been brought to and where they had died. I'm here simply trying to see if she can identify one person who ended up at the Krang Tachang Security Center.
President, the objection of the defense counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chi is overruled. Deputy International Co-Prosecutor, please proceed to your line of questioning. And Madam Civil Party, please respond to the question asked by Co-Prosecutor.
I'm first simply going to remind the numbers. E34092. Khmer, it's on page 00271133. English 00834793. In French 00721274. And in this document, Civil Party, which comes from the Krang Tachang Security Center, they describe a person by the name of Taksim, S-E-M, who was 36 years old back then, and who had married Nget Neel, N-G-E-T, and Nev, N-E-V. This person was born in the village of Pril, Song Commune, Kirivong district in Takeo province. This is the village where you live now. So, do you know this person? Do you know Mr. Taksim, who bears the same name as you?
Answer, I do not know this individual.
Très bien.
Fine. Last question. Do you know a person who came from South Vietnam in 1976 and who apparently settled as you in the commune of Pok Trabek, whose name is Peu, P-E-O-U, N-Y, N-E-Y.
Answer, I do not know this person.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much for having answered my questions. I have no further questions for this civil party.
President, what about the defense counsel for the accused? Do you have any question to put for this civil party?
Just a few, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Madam Civil Party. I have a few follow-up questions. Would you be able, when you speak about the food situation, to make a distinction between how you were eating in 1976, how the situation with the food was a bit later in 1977, 1978. Could you tell us a bit more about the food situation in period of time?
Answer. As for food ration, we had meal as normal. We had a soup, and the soup was cooked in a large pot.
Did you also have vegetables, meat, potatoes, fruit, those kind of things?
Answer. There was morning glory soup and eggplant. There were eggplants, and there was soup for us to eat.
But would you be able to tell us how the food situation was in the beginning that you came to Tram Kok district, a bit later in time, and then at the end of the DK regime? Can you tell us a little bit more about the food situation over time?
Answer. I only knew that there was soup for us to eat. There were fish meats, there were meats for us as well.
I understand, Madam Civil Party. My question is, was there an improvement in the food situation? Was 1 year or 1 month the food situation better than other times, for instance?
Answer. And once in a while we had rice to eat, and we would also have dessert once in a while.
Maybe my questions are not very clear. I apologize, Madam Civil Party, but what I'm trying to understand is whether there was an improvement in the situation. That in the beginning when you came, maybe there was not enough food, but later on in the district there was enough food to eat. Could you tell us a little bit more about the various periods in time?
Answer. First, we had our food as normal, and months later, the food was also normal, but later on, we had a gruel.
Would it be fair, Madam Civil Party, to say that sometimes the food situation was good, sometimes it was a little less good, was a little more bad, sometimes good, sometimes bad? Is that an accurate description?
Answer. The soup was watery. Sometimes the soup was good, and sometimes the soup was not good, and we just bore the situation, even the food was good or bad.
Do you remember, Madam Civil Party, that whether the people who were responsible for the food gave everybody who was working the same portions of food, the same ration of food?
Answer: the food ration was not equal for base people. They had more food, and as for us, we were new people. Our food were less.
And how were you able to determine this? How were you able to see with your own eyes that that was the situation?
Answer: I had food and I had meal, so I could witness it.
How were you able to witness that you had less food than other people?
Answer: I had a meal with other people in the dining hall. We were sitting at the table, and we were sitting close to each other, so I could see that the food ration was less.
Can you explain to me, so that I can understand properly, how that went? Did somebody get more rice, or did somebody get more soup? Can you please tell us some more about this?
Answer: they had a little bit more food than all of us. Sometimes I did not feel my stomach. I wept, but I would not dare to let other people see that I was weeping.
But how would the people who served the food or who made the food be able to make a distinction between base people and new people? How did that go in practice?
Answer: Dì Ton. I knew Dì Ton. She was the cook.
And what did this Yeton, the cook, do?
The food was given to us and placed on the table, and when it came to the time that we had a meal, and then we would go to eat.
I'll move on to another subject, Madam Civil Party. If I heard your testimony correctly, you said that your husband at one point in time disappeared. Have you been able to see with your own eyes what happened to him?
Answer: I did not witness it. My husband was asked to go and collect the rice to make ambok, and I did not know where my husband was taken to. I do not know where he was taken to be killed.
I know it's difficult, Madam Civil Party, to speak about this, but maybe you would be able to tell us why you say the words taken away. What exactly do you mean with the words taken away?
Taking away means that my husband was killed because I did not see my husband on the ox cart when the ox cart returned.
But do you remember actually seeing with your own eyes somebody taking your husband, arresting your husband, and walking him away to an unknown destination?
Answer: I did not witness it. He was asked to go and collect the right seeds. He went together with other people on the ox carts, and I did not see those people back. He disappears ever since.
And this is my last question, Madam Civil Party. Just to be sure, you didn't see with your own eyes what in fact happened to your husband, other than that one day he didn't return home. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Answer: yes. He went and never returned. He was always with us in the cooperative. During the lunch, the meal time, we would eat together.
Thank you, Madam Civil Party.
President, what about the defense counsel for Mr. Kisapon, and how much will you use for this civil party counsel? I will use perhaps about 15 minutes for this civil party. President, thank you very much. It is now convenient time for the break from now until 20:03. Court officer, please facilitate a proper room for this civil party and the TBO staff, and have this civil party together with the TBO staff member back to the stand before the chamber at 20:03.